Hey guys, Boy here, and today we're going to talk about Mask of Madness Anti-Mage. And if you ask people, they're gonna tell you, well, pros are in love with Mask of Madness right now, and that's why they're building your Anti-Mage. They're just testing it on everything. And while that might be true, if you go back 2 or 3 months, you will see videos about Mask of Madness Anti-Mage, and I never talked about it in my main channel because the hero wasn't as popular as he is now. But I did talk about it on my weekly meta guide video on Patreon, which you can learn more about in the description. Quick plug, getting back into the video. Right now he's one of the most popular heroes of the patch, and I think this video makes a lot more sense. If you play Anti-Mage, you know deep inside of you that some lanes are just really hard, and they're gonna force you into jungling earlier than you would like. Slaughter is a great example. In this game, we can see an Anti-Mage eventually being left alone against that fish, and he knows he has to jungle or else he will take a ton of damage. But with Ring of Health, he's taking a ton of damage regardless of being in the lane or being in the camps. And eventually when he comes back, he dies to that angry Slaughter even though he was able to reflect Corrosive Haze. Ring of Health is a pretty decent item in lane with its 6.5 HP per region, and obviously it builds into Battle Fury, so you want the item. But if you're forced to full-time jungle early, the item is really bad. Watch this Anti-Mage that rush a mask after Wraithband jungle. Every hit he lands on jungle creeps heals him for 25 HP. So when he kills this large camp, he heals 450 HP in about 10 seconds. Whereas if he had a Ring of Health regioning 6.5 HP region to heal the same amount, he will need 70 seconds. 7 times less sustain, alright? Obviously, when Mask of Madness gets ready, you not only get better lifesteal, but you accelerate the speed that you farm tremendously. So at first, this is why I thought Mask of Madness Anti-Mage was good. It costs pretty much the same amount of treads, but it accelerates your farm and it makes you full HP all the time, meaning the chances of you dying when you get ganked are much more slim, and you're farming towards that Battle Fury faster anyways. All of the Mask of Madness items are disassembled, so you can make a Satanic and a Butterfly eventually. But there is actually much more to this than just, escaping hard lanes against your Venomancers and, other annoying heroes. The Mask of Madness build allows Anti-Mage to play a completely new style that wasn't available to him in the past. There are a couple of carry matchups in this patch that are not really favorable for AM. This means that farming and playing the usual Mental Abyssal Blade isn't necessarily going to win the game. These heroes are Lifestealer, Terrorblade, and Faceless Void. Against those heroes, when you go for the Mask of Madness build, one route that you can take is transforming Madness into Echo Saber after Battle Fury is done. This gives you a completely different and earlier power spike because usually you would only be ready to join fights with Manta, yet with about 1500 gold after finishing your Battle Fury, when you disassemble your Mask of Madness, you can get Echo Saber and fight really well. This was the case when Sylar was playing AM versus a Brute plus Terrorblade game. Even though he was against a 14k gold lead, he gave Dire a run for their money by being able to take good fights without just AFK farming the whole game. And because you retain the Morbid Mask lifesteal, you still have much better sustain in between these fights. A normal AM with Manta constantly has to TP base or fair selves to stay in fighting shape and split pushing constantly if he is actually joining fights. But that's not the case for this build. Usually Anti-Mages get Satanic after Abyssal Blade and Skadi, or at least one of these two items. But when you play like this, you can join fights and go back to split pushing instantly because you're gonna heal so much. The sustain benefits are not only great for the mid game though. Take HFN in this game. He got treads before Mask of Madness, by the way, and he decides to defend this tower, but he gets attacked by the Lifestealer. And this is one of the main problems of this matchup. Lifestealer can play way too aggressively on you if he's in your lane, and there is a pretty big chance that someone else playing this scenario with, let's say, a Ring of Health instead of a Morbid Mask, they cost pretty much the same gold, would also survive, but that person would have to spend gold with a salve or go back base, and in both cases waste time and money. Watch what happens here. Not only he can keep farming the lane because of the incredible sustain of Morbid Mask, but when a fight breaks out and his madness is completed, he can do one thing that no other item would ever give to him this early. He can cut this wave at 11 minutes into the game when his team is 2k gold behind, not only forcing a glyph and holding a tower, which eventually just buys time for AM to grow bigger, get more items and protect the outpost, but also getting a kill because of all the sustain the item gives him in the first place. Wind Ranger overextends, And after the kill, he finally TPs back to base. Just kidding, he goes top and he just keeps accelerating because the sustain is amazing. If you want proof that Mask of Madness AM can be viable, I think this is the game you have to watch. He gets 900 GPM, 14 creeps a minute, and a lot of it, in my opinion, is only possible because of Mask of Madness. In this game, he's against an Underlord, a hero that isn't as hard of a matchup as a Slaughter, but also a super annoying one. You cannot sustain that lane because his right clicks and the Firestorm do way too much damage since you only have 1 point of your passive, usually. And thanks to Mask of Madness though, he ditched the lane after level 5 and farmed Ancients starting at 7 minutes into the game. He pretty much farmed 6 out of 8 Ancients from minute 8 to 15, even stacks before Battle Fury, and that allowed him to get a 15-minute Battle Fury even though he squeezed Mask of Madness into the build and was bullied out of his lane. The item also allowed him to roach Fatusk at 17 minutes, something unthinkable for AM, but that could also be a minus armor hero or a medallion hero. He didn't go for that right-click Echo Saber build I talked about, but he was able to get Battle Fury, Manta, Abyssal Blade, and Mask of Madness in 26 minutes. This meant that even though the game was even in gold, he was 50% more farmed than Void, and that's how he was able to beat this terrible matchup, even though it's a hard one. And sure, most of what this item brings to the table is farming speed, but the sheer DPS it provides is also great for roaching, as we just saw. There is a part of this game where he takes a tier 3 tower in seconds while his team is fighting somewhere else, and if you play anti-mage, you know you would take at least twice as much time to get that tower without the item. Just to be clear, I'm not advocating that you play anti-mage like this every game, even though players like Ritzo and HFN are doing that. What I want you to do is, based on how you feel in the lane, decide whether you want to get it or not. In lanes you're getting kills and trading well and dominating, Mask of Madness isn't that great. It doesn't allow you to further snowball your advantage since the item gives no stats, only sustain. And if you're managing to kill people, your lane is empty and a salve might be more than enough to compensate the damage that you take when you go for that. Against heroes like Doom and Slaughter and Venomancer though, where you feel forced to leave the lane as soon as they get level 5 or 6, this build is a great way to keep your farming speed up whilst being healthy. Guys, thank you so much for watching, commenting, and subscribing. In case you're struggling to get MMR or maybe you just started playing Dota, my Meta Aficionado tier on Patreon offers a great way for you to understand everything you need to know that is not gameplay related, allowing you to focus only on that. Players oftentimes don't realize how important it is to know what the good meta heroes are, and even more importantly, when to pick them. By subscribing for this tier, you not only get 25 PDF files that get updated almost weekly with tips about when to pick them and how to itemize, but you also get a weekly video talking about trends I'm picking up based on professional games and high MMR pubs. In case you want a more premium experience than my Meta Aficionado tier, you can DM me on Twitter to get the rates for my coaching, and if you got back to Dota because of the compendium or COVID-19, make sure to join our Discord server where you can find like-minded people to pub with you. Finally, if you want to watch me cast or play, follow me on Twitch, and that's it. Bye!